I wouldn't be doing this dumbass live streaming if I weren't. So yes, I still am running for president. Get over it.
Rand Pauluses
and Minuses.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Clair.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. This is episode number 151. That means you can find the show notes for this show at lionsofliberty.com/151. And today's show, I am joined by one of my fellow Lions of Liberty co-founders, a former housemate, though never roommate, thankfully, the venerable Brian McWilliams. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. Just rolling in to do some Rand talk.
All right, well, that's, of course, because why else would I have you here in the studios with me if it wasn't another edition of
Rand Pauluses
and Minuses.
Rand Pauluses and Minuses. So, what's up? What's up, Rand expert? What's up with Mr. Randy Pants right now? Hashtag Randy Pants, by the way. We want to make sure to hit that one real quick. If you're talking about this show, if you're tweeting this show out, we ask you to hashtag Randy Pants.
And
that's what we like to call him.
We got one last week. We had a Randy Pantser.
From a new listener that we got over from the Jason Stapleton program. So
yeah, thank you, Jason.
I guess that's working.
Giving us a shout out there. Also, we mentioned Johnny Rocket, also a good friend of the podcast, gave us some shout outs. So hopefully there's some listeners.
We're expanding the Liberty universe in many ways.
It's Liberty hands across America.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing here.
I can't wait till we have a charity and a concert and an embezzlement scandal. This is all going to be great
hands
stuff.
across America.
For Liberty.
So, anywho.
We'll hire Jesse Benton to manage it. just to ensure a scandal.
I hope that, I'd love to have him we'll hire him and his one phone call from prison will just be to, do something to promote us. And that would be fantastic.
There you go.
So, in the world of Rand, a lot happened since our last show, man. Like, a ton of stuff went down with Rand. The most recent of which, big news on the Rand Paul front, is in the wake of his camp sending out a memo, which I covered in the most recent column.
And where can everyone find your full archive of columns, of your weekly column, of course, Rand, Pauluses, and Minuses?
Well, you can find that at lionsofliberty.com/Rand.
All right.
So, his campaign sent out this document, though, and literally it was a memo to the media, and it's basically, if I'm going to cull it down, it said, hey, knock off saying that we're dropping out. We're not dropping out, so quit it. That's basically
Quit it.
Quit it, guys.
Wham!
Stop it. You stop it. So, that's what it said, though.
You actually called this in your column, which may be a tiny bit of hyperbole. The memo heard around the political world. Was it really heard around the political world?
I think it was.
Just our political world.
No, and this got covered. This got covered very widely. It was like CNN and Politico and everybody. They were writing up this memo, just saying, "Look, they're not dropping out. Here's why." And they kind of cite it. They talk about their on the ground support, which they do have a lot of collegiate support, which is great. And they talk about how they're winning all these straw polls, like Rand won the Liberty straw poll earlier, which is great. Beating out Ted Cruz.
I would hope he would at least win the Liberty straw poll.
You would really hope, yeah.
If the Liberty activists themselves didn't vote for him, well, that would be troubling.
Yeah, just 3,000 people just going, meh.
We kind of, who else is there? Ted Cruz?
I don't know, Rand.
I think he was right in front of Ted Cruz, who also did not too bad.
Yeah, not too poorly, which is a little surprising on its own.
I mean, I guess out of all the guys, he probably takes the more outward liberty positions in his rhetoric, at least. Maybe not, so much in reality. But he's extremely strong in the Second Amendment, and that's probably where my compliments end, actually.
Yeah, I mean, because then you get into foreign policy, which is miserable. Yeah. So, but anyway, so they sent out this memo just being like, knock it off. We have money. They talk about the $2 million they've got in the bank right now, which is, it's okay.
It's more than I got.
It's more than I got, too.
More than I got for my campaign.
Yeah, God. I mean, my stock accounts are just awful. But
don't take stop ticks from him. Stop ticks or stop tips. Only take Rand Paul advice. That's correct. That's the only thing you should get.
And if you're buying stock in Rand Paul, that stock's going up.
Oh, is it now? So what's going on here? This just came out earlier this week that the latest polls are showing a little uptick for Randy Pants. Hashtag Randy Pants.
Hashtag Randy Pants.
We're going to drive this thing home if it's the last thing we do.
Let me just say, the Randy Pants are being pulled up in the polls.
All right. Pun City.
Fun City, baby. Puns are puns. So yeah, Rand, he's hitting 5% now in the latest poll that came out.
5%?
Which puts him above, do you know?
I can name a few people.
Chuck him out there.
Puts him above Carly Fiorina.
Yep.
Puts him above John Kasich.
Yep.
Puts him above Chris Christie.
Yep.
Puts him above Ted Cruz, the
That's
aforementioned.
right.
Now, this is just one poll, of course. He was also showing an uptick in the latest Reuters poll last week, which had him at like 3% or something, I think. So the trends are going in the right direction for old Randy Pants. And he's, of course, above everyone else that sits at the kiddie table. Rick Santorum's, the Lindsey
The Bobby
Grahams,
Jindals of the world.
the Jindals, who, I mean, I expect we're going to see most of these guys just flutter to the wayside pretty soon. But, Kasich had a whole debate that was basically centered around him being promoted as a viable candidate. And we've even said somewhat okay things about Kasich in relation to these other guys. He just doesn't seem like as much of a crazy neocon, basically. He's just, that doesn't mean we agree with his positions. He just doesn't seem as terrible of a human being as so many
exactly
of these other guys do. And so however this is shaking out, Fiorina seems to be falling, while Carson and Trump are still, far and above the rest of the pack. They're not blowing up. You don't see Trump gaining any more ground, and you seem to see Carson losing a little bit.
Look, Ben Carson should. Ben Carson took off to do a book tour in the middle of a presidential campaign.
He actually suspended his campaign, isn't that right?
He suspended. I think he's just running for president as a great way to promote his book. And maybe Trump's doing the same thing.
Maybe. Is Trump selling a book?
I'm sure he's got some book that's going to come out about, my life on the campaign trail, the Donald Trump story.
If Donald Trump doesn't become president, you know that the next season of The Apprentice is going to be the highest rated show just in history.
They should call it The Vice Prentice. Then
right.
he can audition.
Oh my
people
God! What if he actually became president, and then that's how he chose?
He runs without a vice president.
He wins the nomination, and then he does this show in the middle of the campaign season. Does the vice president vetting show? That would be amazing. I actually I'm now a Trump supporter.
There we go. All right. Well, next week tune in
someone's
for
going to take that audio and spit it out on the internet
for Trump pluses and minuses.
Hey, we'll do anything if we can get on the show. On the Trump show,
bring the Donald in.
All right, enough about the Donald.
I think I can hear a dog at your door.
There's dogs. There's dogs at my front doors, my back doors. I should probably stop leaving all these bones and
these rabid supporters
and
of Rand Paul in the dog world.
Bits of bacon on my front door.
Yep.
Anywho, so what do you think about all this? Do you think this is real? Do you think this is just a flash in the pan? Do you think or is it what they're saying, basically, that, look, you can say that we're not doing great, but, what they said in this memo is, look, we have strong support on the ground. We have a lot of activists out there. We have a strong core, and we have a strong, basically, backbone of our campaign, so we're not going to freak out if our polls aren't amazing right off the bat. But the point is that they stay steady and that they keep things going and they keep putting forward the correct messages, and hopefully those correct messages are ones we agree with which they're not always, and they're often not, and we'll get into some more of those later on. But do you think this is really just do you think can expect to see this uptick continue, I guess?
I am going to say yes.
All right.
And the reason, of course, we discussed last podcast how the polls are very misleading. They're not reaching the right people. Maybe they're reaching the right people a little bit more now. Maybe that grassroots support is spreading a lot more now, and people are getting encouraged by him winning these different straw polls. So, I think it's going to continue. Now, is he going to shoot up to 20%? Probably not. Is he going to stay at 5%? Yeah, I think so. And I think he's going to make it into the next debate, which is, of course, huge, because he was on that cusp before.
He has to make it now. I mean, almost, unless the numbers just drastically drop in the next week or two, because they're basically saying if you got 2.5%, you're in. And he's at 5 in the latest. So he'd really have to suffer some serious gaffes, I guess, in the next week or so.
Yeah,
which wouldn't put past him.
One sentence earlier, Rand Paul could emerge as well.
Hasn't been around in a while.
Rand Paul, one sentence earlier.
But
no, well, you know what? He almost had it this week because he got he got a little bit of a snafu that Hillary Clinton was raising ire about. But basically, Rand was on a TV show and he was talking to Wolf Blitzer on CNN, and he had said that.
Hold on. What do we give his poll numbers rising?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Apollos, of
course. How could that's the biggest slam dunk?
Naturally, yeah. I mean,
unless you hate Rand Paul, which a lot of libertarians do, then it would be a minus to see him doing better, right?
That's true. So, although if any of the forums that we frequent are any indicator, I think most libertarians are supporters of Rand.
At least tepid supporters. You want to see him be more libertarian and do better based on that.
Right.
I don't want to see him become a neocon and shoot and skyrocket in the polls because of that.
No, and the more his libertarian views are coming out, the better his polling numbers. Look, it's working, Rand. It's
what
working.
Do you know?
I mean, gee.
You act more like your dad, you do better. So, Wolf Blitzer
Yeah, the Blitz. So, yeah, Rand was
Putting
talking...
on the Blitz. That
Rand
ever
was
said that to
talking,
him, do you think?
Putting on the Blitz.
Hashtag. Next time he does anything, we just got a hashtag putting on the Blitz.
I just watched Young Frankenstein because it's Halloween time.
All right, good story. Moving along. So what did Wolf Blitzer do?
How dare you?
I know, it's
Young
a great
Frankenstein's
scene.
a fantastic scene. Anyway.
We'll post the
Rand's-
scene we're referring to in the show notes.
Yes, thank you.
For the youngins out there.
Thank you. So Rand was on with Wolf, and he was clarifying some statements he made where he had expressed at a campaign stop. He said, regarding gay, basically being fired for being gay. Now, Rand's take on that was, businesses should be allowed to fire you, based upon if you're gay, and they feel that's something that they're not in agreement with, that they should be able to do that. And there's plenty of other places that are hiring you if you're gay in this day and age, which is true. Now, of course, that statement came across as very discriminatory.
There's gay CEOs. There's, the Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple. So, yeah.
Yeah. And if they fire him, they can fire him for being gay.
And look, I'm sure there have been gay CEOs throughout history. It's just that now we are in an era where people are open about this stuff and, aren't just doing it in the bathhouse secretly.
Right.
Not that all gay people go to bathhouses. I'm really going to dig myself a hole here if I don't stop talking.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's get on with the story.
So, Rand went on because everyone was attacking him. Hillary Clinton posted some meme of her making some stupid face, and so Rand went on and said, "Let me clarify this a little bit." So what he said was that, I don't know that we need to keep adding different classifications that say the government needs to be involved in hiring and firing. I think society is rapidly changing, and if you're gay, there are plenty of places that will hire you. So then...
This is not a direct quote, by the way. He did not say a gay, just for the record.
No. Are gay. Did I say a gay?
That's not PC, Brian. If there's anything we strive for, it's political correctness.
That was me reading fast.
That was you being homophobic.
So then, to clarify, this is the clarification. He says, I don't think anybody should be fired for being gay. I do, though, believe that your personal life should be personal and shouldn't affect anyone firing you. I don't think the decision whether to hire or fire should be based on things from your personal life. So when I say it should remain in your house, I don't think it should be part of the decision-making of the business. Now, as I point out, that's a simplistic viewpoint because people on social media constantly, your whole life is out there. Now, that's, of course, a lot to do with ego. People want people to see that. It's for public consumption. So there have been many instances where companies fired people because of social media posts, either negative about the company or posting something that was, like the Boston Marathon girl who posted a picture of herself in a marathon costume.
I know of people personally that have been fired because they posted something about their company on social media, which is
stupid.
Just plain stupid. I mean, and then I see people do it now, and I'm like, what are you doing?
What are you thinking? Yeah, what are you
not that they're monitoring you per se, but you never know who can see what, and that's why I never talk bad about Lions of Liberty.
Yep, there you go.
I don't want to get fired.
We'll can your ass. The board. We'll convene a meeting of the board.
Oh God, not the board.
All the drunks in the alley.
It's who's on our board? It's the Koch brothers. Who else?
Clearly, Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. He's on our board. Yeah, we are basically the voice piece, the mouthpiece of a secret libertarian cabal, which we probably shouldn't be revealing on air. But
no, probably not. But it's fine.
Okay,
we'll get some letters. So anyway, so you see what he's saying here, and it's a sensitive topic. I know that, but I got to support Rand here. In that, look, businesses. If you're running a private business, you can hire and fire at your whim. And I'm sorry, and the it's discrimination, yes, but you can't. But that's everything's based upon discrimination. You should be able to discriminate against people. And the feedback for that, within the social media age, you post online. You give somebody, you say this restaurant won't serve me because I'm gay. This person fired me because I'm gay. Now, where this becomes problematic when the government gets involved is because now you get overly litigious. If there's all this focus on, I'm gay and I was fired, how do you know that they're fired just for being gay? Now you go to a lawsuit. Now businesses are tied up in lawsuits because now the government's involved,
That's what happens with a lot of these laws that seem so well-intentioned on the surface, like laws against discriminating against handicapped people, against discriminating against people for race. And look, you should not discriminate against people for these things.
No, you shouldn't.
I agree. But when it becomes a law, it becomes a whole new thing. Mm-hmm. And suddenly you have people that might get fired for a legitimate reason, like they're not performing their job, and then they can sue, and then they can get all this money from this company because they can say, no, it's because of my handicap, or maybe if there's a new law passed.
Or because they don't like that I'm gay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then now we just take choice out of the matter altogether. Now what? We're going to have the government force the company to hire this person that for whatever reason it doesn't want to have this person employed. It seems a little silly. And, the point is this becomes a private property issue, as these other things should be. We should strive for a society where people aren't discriminated against for these reasons.
You nailed it. That's exactly right. So, Rand came out. He got a lot of flack for it. But at the end of the day, he's right. And people just need to, I don't want to say man up, but people need to just realize that the government's not going to solve all of your problems, and getting the government involved is just going to make everything messier, everything more expensive, and it's going to make every situation more awkward, more everybody's walking on eggshells, and worse. I mean, I won't go off on a tangent about the state of universities.
Oh, not here. Not
microaggressions, microtransgressions, whatever it is, where it's like universities now, they're not allowing people to speak because they have different thoughts. It's like they had a conservative that was supposed to speak at Manchester University, I think. And they told him he couldn't come because he wasn't in agreement with their philosophy. It's the same thing. It's like, look, people
what's
have
the point of having anyone speak anywhere?
Yeah, exactly.
The whole point of hearing a speaker is to gain something from their viewpoint, and almost everyone's going to have a different viewpoint than most of the people in the audience, or a good portion of the people in the audience. So you should basically just end speaking if that's what we're going to say.
So Rand Paul's against it, and I give him a Paul Lust for it.
All right, Paul Lust. I will also give him a Paul Lust.
Good.
Why not?
So one more thing I want to talk about is a little bit from last week.
Well, we got a lot more time, so hopefully you got more than one thing.
Oh well, I have a ton of things. I'm trying not to go too far.
There was so much Rand news these last couple weeks.
There were like 12 items last week.
We could do a daily show about this if we really wanted to.
We should do a daily show. We couldn't be any worse than Trevor Noah is at it.
Boom!
Blam! Trevor Noah. #, Trevor Noah sucks.
I watched 10 minutes. All the goodwill Trevor Noah had for his good words about Rand is already gone now that I watch his show. It is not the same.
It's just pandering. It's not the problem. The biggest problem is, look, I don't mind if you're going to bash. You can have your bias as long as it's funny.
Exactly.
Just be funny. But when you're not funny and you're just bashing people and keeping this liberal line of reasoning and logic going, just go on MSNBC and be Rachel Maddow's co-host. Don't host a hominy and grits.
Hamada.
Don't host a comedy show if it's not funny.
Or host a hominy show. Don't do either.
Don't eat hominy and grits. It's not very good.
I don't know. Is that a real thing?
Oh, it's a real thing, man.
Where do they have that? The South?
Well, I'll put a recipe in the show notes.
All right. So far, our show notes include a clip from Young Frankenstein and a recipe for something called hominy and grits. So look forward to that. LionsOfLiberty.com/151.
The show is all things to all people.
Hey, while we're plugging stuff and while we're talking about Rand, did you see this tweet that he had the other week?
I see all tweets.
Rand actually purchased a T-shirt from our good friend Dan McCall over at LibertyManiacs.com.
He must have been over the moon.
All right. Do you think he used our 10% discount that our listeners can all get for listening to the show?
Well, I mean, look, Liberty Maniacs is a pretty big site, but I don't see how Rand would have gotten there without our link. I'm sure he was led there by the show.
Yeah, so hopefully, just like our listeners right now, Rand Paul used the discount code Lions of Liberty to check out this T-shirt. This T-shirt
what did it say, by the way?
We'll also post this in the show notes. It'll be the first Rand-related item that's actually in our show notes. It is a quote from Thomas Paine that says, "The strength and power of despotism consists wholly in the fear of resistance." It's a good quote.
That is a good quote.
I like that. He looks really, serious on this photo.
He does. I know. I expect him to be smiling. He's kind of very somber.
Like he's about to start.
It looks like he's about to smother me with the shirt.
It almost looks like he knows something I don't.
He's going to mercy kill somebody with that shirt.
It looks like he's creeping up on me, and then he's going to smother me to death when I'm laying in bed.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll move on.
Minus for that.
Minus for this for the look. We'll move on since people can't see the photo necessarily.
You should seriously check out our sponsors at LibertyManiacs.com. They have a killer array of hilarious T-shirts, if I do say so myself, and some not so hilarious, some that are just really good quotes. All sorts of Liberty-related gear. LibertyManiacs.com. Do not forget to use your discount code Lions of Liberty to get 10% off your order. Can't beat that. Unless someone's got a 15% discount code, then you can beat that. But
how dare they? They better not.
If so, we're going to talk to Dan because that's not right.
We're going to have a war. All right, so here's the other thing. So anyway, I give him a Paul Lust for his statements.
I know what I want to talk about. I don't know what you want to talk about.
What?
I want to talk about this dumbass live stream.
The dumbass live stream. I admit, even though I am the Rand expert here, I couldn't watch the whatever it was 10 hours of live streaming.
Some
campaign.
Rand analyst you are. I didn't watch any of it too, so that's fine. I just like the idea that he did it.
Yeah, it's a great. I mean, look, give him credit. He's always
live
kind of
streamed
on the
a full day of his campaign. For those that don't know,
he was listening to Metallica in the car, rocking out.
And there's a couple good moments from the live stream, but we'll talk about one that's like trivial and funny, and that's when he called it a dumbass live stream. Right. It was basically he was taking listeners or questions or tweets or something. and one of them was, the classic, is your campaign still going on, or are you about to quit, or something like that. And he said, yeah, I wouldn't be doing this dumbass live stream if I was about to wind my campaign down. Are you kidding me? So, I mean, hey, if you're having that's the kind of stuff we would say if we were just having a long day and just at the end of our rope. So he was actually getting flack for that, of course, in the media. You can't say dumbass if you're a presidential candidate. Boo.
And apparently you can't call the Republican Party idiots either.
So that's another moment that he had. And what was this in relation to?
Well, specifically, they're riding in the car and they're listening to Metallica and, kind of rocking out. And all of a sudden, Rand's like, okay, turn down the music, guys. It's time to get serious. He goes, can we just talk for a minute about the idiots in the Republican Party who want to go to war in Syria? So that's basically how it started. And then he's like, they want to go to war. Everybody in the GOP wants to go to war, and so does Hillary Clinton. And he's just talking about how it's a stupid thing to do, how we don't need to go to war in Syria, and how, basically we should maintain a arm's length from what's going on there and also in Afghanistan. And I'm going to merge two different stories into one, because he also
let's not forget our grading. So what are we going to give this? Dumbass comment is obviously a plus, not even a question.
Yeah, definitely.
And then what about this whole idiot? This is probably an obvious one too, really, to call the Republican Party idiots, or at least most of them, and they are. If they
are idiots. Well, and I'll give him credit too, because he points out in this. I'll read the end of this quote. All of them beating their chest to see who is the most likely to get us involved in a war that really, these people have been at war for 1,000 years. You think someone were going to solve their problems?
I actually hate
pure
that part
logic. I love it. Why?
Hate that part.
I think it's a great point.
Because it's so... It's the same line that always... I agree with most of it. It's the 1,000-year remark I don't like. Because it's a oversimplification of whole Middle Eastern politics. Everyone likes to use this trope that these people have been fighting each other for thousands of years, and it's simply not true. This modern conflict is exactly that.
A lot of it has been caused by U.S. intervention as well.
Yes, it's a modern conflict, and it's a complicated one. But this idea that this region is just full of fighting and can never stop fighting is, I just think, an oversimplification that I hate.
Well, I will say,
whatever.
Counterpoint.
His overall point I agree with, and I give him a Paulus for it.
No, I give him a Paulus as well. But let me counterpoint what you said. So I do agree. Yeah, it's a lot of what's going on there is basically as a result of U.S. intervention. So that's number one. As far as the fighting, now what I think they have been, maybe not on the same scale, but also
who are they? Just like all Arabs?
The different sects. But also, the thing is, people always forget, it's like we're saying, how are we going to solve their problems? You look at the destabilization of the region, especially with Iraq, right? Now, the place over there is in a shitstorm, I'm just going to say it. And the reason why is because we destabilized the region. We pushed out Saddam, who was basically the bulwark against Iran, and also just in his own country. And the thing is that people hate to say it, but it's true. He ruled with an iron fist, and the terrorists sprung up when he was gone. Why? Because terrorists don't mind if they get killed. Saddam, though, he would kill the terrorists, and then he'd say, okay, I'm going to kill your whole family. It's like mafia. He's like, I'll kill your family, I'll kill your kids, I'll kill your wife. And you know what? Nobody wants to be a martyr now because they don't want their entire family bloodline to be wiped out. And the U.S. will not do that.
No one is saying that's a good thing, that those tactics... No. Well, some people might think it is. The fact is, just a little realpolitik here for a moment. Yes, Saddam Hussein is a tyrant and is bad, and I think ultimately as a cause for good is not someone who should be in power. However, when you just don't have a plan, you remove this guy from power, you leave a vacuum there, you don't have an actual, way to set up a government that respects rights of individuals. Well, yeah, you're just going to get all these other groups springing up that are violating the rights of other people, and you're going to see groups like ISIS come to power, and the Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the Al-Quds, all these guys that are just coming up, whereas Saddam wouldn't have stood for this crap.
No, exactly. They got to cut your ears off, cut your nose off, I'll burn them in front of you.
My sons are going to like throw you in and watch wild dogs eat your limbs and everyone's like, okay, right. no terrorism.
Right.
Sorry.
It wasn't a great way to roll, but it was very effective, and people know the U.S. is not going to do that. They're going to put, and which we shouldn't, But it's just, the point I'm making is that we can't solve their problems, and to think that we can is foolish, and it's just backwards thinking. It hasn't worked for 60 years. So anyway, I support that part.
All right, but not 1,000 years. Come on. Anyway, moving along. Where do you want to move along? You're the Rand man here. So let's tie this into his Afghanistan.
Segue into this. So Rand also questioned why we're still in Afghanistan, which is a very valid question,
and
especially
this
considering...
comes on the heels of what happened, I guess, a week or two ago with the Doctors Without Borders hospital, which was bombed. I have actually seen people defending this on the internet.
I don't understand
Not
how.
people defending that it was an accident and these things happen in war. I've seen that, and look, I don't like that either, but all right, yeah, things happen. I've seen people saying it would be right for the United States to purposely bomb this hospital because they were supposedly, and the key word here is supposedly, no one has convicted anyone of anything, harboring terrorists or being used as a front for terrorists.
Why would
but really,
Doctors
it's only
Without Borders
not
be
even
doing
that. It's really just because they don't discriminate against who that they fix up. If someone's are injured, they fix them. They don't ask what group they're fighting with or whatever. They're there to help people and to save lives. They're not there to be political.
Right.
But the argument out there is, well, if you've saved terrorists, then you are a terrorist organization yourself. This is an actual argument I've seen neocon type people present, and it is despicable.
The worst logic I've ever heard in my life.
It's absolutely despicable. And it's hypocritical because Israel patches up these guys from Syria and ships them right back to keep fighting because they don't like Assad. They want him out of power so they can fix up actual terrorists that we know about.
America's
and send
greatest
them
ally.
who they know are going to go fight and be terrorists. Meanwhile, Doctors Without Borders, people are going to defend the bombing of them. I mean, it's just outrageous, the logic / lack of logic that some of these extreme war-hungry, war-mongering neocons use to justify basically any barbaric act.
Yep. Well, it's like anything. You can rationalize things away. You know, like we talk about with any supporters of any specific genre, like you see on the Democratic side, people that are Hillary supporters ignore or rationalize everything she's done with flip-flopping and her agendas. You can rationalize anything away. So it's just these people doing that, as insane as it may be. So, anywho.
We rationalized doing a whole podcast about Rand Paul.
Can you believe
regularly, so
and we've done many of them. People love them. So, anyway, so Rand's saying we should get out of Afghanistan. And also, let's not forget that Obama recently just said, guess what, guys? Remember when I said the troops are coming out? Nah, scratch that.
Sorry,
dudes. Back to the front.
Just kidding.
Yeah, so they're all staying.
Maybe they're like, well, look, since we bombed that hospital, we got to, rebuild it. So maybe that's why we're staying.
Yeah, that's
don't think
it's got to
so.
be the rationale. Yeah, so that's all. They're all staying there. Like some 5,000 some troops. So Iran's just saying, get us out of there. Why are we still there? You know, we need to. They need to be. At this point, we've been there for so long. They need to have their own defense systems. They need to take care of themselves. Let's get the hell out. So I completely agree with him. I give him a Paulus.
I will also give him a Paulus because he's becoming more like his dad. Not all the way his dad, but he's becoming. He's talking about foreign policy and saying and calling people out and saying this stuff is crazy. The things that these people are promoting is ridiculous. We're killing people. We're losing American lives, American dollars. Why is this still going on? And maybe it's not full run, but it's good. It's in the right direction. It's better than any other guy. It's better than these supposedly anti-war Bernie Sanders who can say he's anti-war all he wants and then can say, well, it's fine if Obama wants to support Syria.
Right, as long as my boy Obama bombs him.
And I did support Bill Clinton's wars. And so, okay, yeah, you're real anti-war. I mean, Bernie Sanders actually lost points for me at the not to get too off topic.
I agree completely.
In the last debate, because I used to think, well, at least he's like the anti-war candidate, so I can kind of support him on those grounds. You know, not support him, but cheer for him silently. But yeah, I think if I'm rooting for one Democrat, he just dropped out. Jim Webb. He didn't necessarily drop out of the running, but he said, screw these guys. This thing is rigged, and this is BS, and I'm out of here.
But he's still not good. His foreign policy is his weakest point.
He's not much better, but he seems more rational. Let me just put it that way. More rational than most.
Yeah. But by the way, so yeah, agreed. Rand's coming back towards the libertarian side, and he's pushing himself away from the GOP neocon pack to steal a line from a bra commercial. He is lifting and separating.
Is that a real bra commercial?
Or you're saying I remember it. Oh, I remember it distinctly growing up. It lifts and separates.
Okay.
So Rand Paul's braing his way away from the competition. I love it.
We can't actually tie this into Bernie Sanders because there's one more item we'll just touch on before we sign off. There are many more items, and you can, of course, find them all in Brian's weekly column, published every Tuesday at lionsofliberty.com. Rand Pauluses and Minuses will link to the last couple in the show notes at lionsofliberty.com/151. And again, the full archive can be found at lionsofliberty.com/Rand. How wonderful. But one more thing we'll hit on is Rand actually referenced Mr. Bernie Sanders and his socialist plans for governing. And he basically, well, why don't you tell me? What did he say?
Well, Rand laid it out to the kids. He said, look, kids, there's nothing cool about socialism.
There is not. anything cool about socialism. He went on to say, Bernie's a socialist, and ultimately socialism relies on force or implied force, and it's, was it an accident that Stalin killed millions of people? I don't think it was an accident. Or Mao Zedong killed millions of people because you want to control the economy, you want to control ownership of things by the state, yada, yada, yada. You have to,
still finish up. You have to forbid other people from owning parts of the economy or controlling parts of the economy. And also he goes into the fact that all they're doing is obscuring who pays for it, but ultimately somebody has to pay for things. If you want free college, that has to go to college. Those that don't go to college and work will be paying for your college. Nothing's really on the surface. What appears to be free isn't free. Right. Good job, Rand. I got a Liberty boner when I read it.
Wow.
But I mean, it's great. Look, how many times have you heard a political candidate talk about, coercive force and taking things away from people like that? I loved it. It was fantastic. And, whether or not people, of course, on the more liberal side of things, just latched on to say, oh, how can you compare Bernie Sanders and socialism to Stalin, this mass murderer? But people don't seem to realize that, look, everything starts somewhere. And I'm sure when Stalin came to power or Chairman Mao started up, he wasn't this crazy killer. He was probably a guy who's like, hey, we got to change things. Everybody should get a piece of the pie equal. And everybody said, yeah, great. We love it. And then later on, everybody gets murdered.
And nobody's cheering for mass murder and supporting mass murder when they, support Mao. And they ended up supporting that, maybe unknowingly. But that's what happens then when you have command and control over people, over a country. And yeah, I mean, in many ways, what Bernie is promoting is really just an extension of what we already have in the United States, of a highly regulatory environment. And so maybe it's silly to call him socialist, but not other people. But he's the one that uses the term. He's the one that puts it out there as his view of what governance should be. So it's appropriate to respond to it.
Bingo, baby. Paulus.
And to me, Rand and Bernie are fighting for the same crowd, not in their respective primaries, but in the overall support of the kind of people that they should be reaching out to. I think they basically have the same target audience. Bernie might be doing a better job capturing it because he's speaking in platitudes and he's promoting things that sound wonderful if you don't actually think it through. But he's not addressing the core of the issues. And to me, he doesn't have the rational mind that Rand, at least usually displays or often displays.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think you're right, though. I think they are going for a lot of the same audience. And that's one of the things I loved about him calling the Republican Party idiots for their whole stance on war. I think a lot of people that are, in those middle trenches are going to say, oh, yeah, great, I love it. And the fact that he called it Hillary on it, too, say, yeah, you know what? He's totally right. So, yeah, good job, Rand.
All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this week. As you may have noticed, we're doing this podcast a little more frequently. We will continue to do that. We're going to do this about every 2 weeks, and that will coincide with a further announcement to come very soon regarding the format of the Lions of Liberty podcast. So we're going to keep teasing you. We might just never make an announcement. That might actually be more fun to see if...
Killed by a meteor.
When we get 100 Randy Pants tweet hashtags, we will fully reveal.
The grand reveal.
Yes, but what do we got going on next week? On Monday, I'm talking to Josh Umber, this great guy who's he has this awesome service called Atlas MD. It's a direct care sort of subscription-based doctor service, and it's extremely affordable and extremely awesome, and I can't wait to speak with him and let everyone hear what that's all about, because to me, we're going to change the world. We're going to fix things, not just by changing the laws, but in some ways just by getting around them, and businessmen going out there and providing new services, so we're looking forward to that.
I love it. By the way, I love the fact that he's getting back to house calls. Remember when doctors used to do house calls, and it was like every movie you watch in the old days, like, call the doctor, and he'd come over, and he was like, your doctor.
That's exactly what he does. You get house calls, you get access to your doctor, you can actually text your doctor. It's really amazing stuff. So that's going to be Monday's show. And then next Thursday, well, you know what's happening next Wednesday? It is another, yes, that's right, a GOP debate. And you know what happens when there's a GOP debate? A few things. We play the Lions of Liberty GOP debate drinking game, which Brian will be updating.
I will update accordingly.
And we also record. We also live blog, so be sure to head to lionsofliberty.com for our live blog throughout the debate. If you just want to maybe have the not even have the volume on and just read our live blogging instead, or you can listen along and follow along with us.
Yeah, and drink along with us, and then you can listen to the podcast after a couple days later when we've all sobered up and gotten rid of our hangovers. It won't even be a couple days. It's a super short turnaround. This is the debate is on Wednesday. We're going to record a reaction show immediately afterwards. We're going to drink a little booze. We're going to have a good time, and then a few short hours later. Wow.
It's going to be there.
We got a great editor, John Daubert, guys.
This guy's magic. Johnny53 at gmail.com if you want his services. There you go. And on that note, folks, until next week, until we talk to Josh Umber, until we analyze the GOP debate, yet again, I've only got one more request, and that is, of course, to live long
and live free. And now here's a little song I like to call Republicans Are Morons.
God, I can't
Each
believe
little thing I like to say is that they're idiots and I don't know.
I can't believe we have to do this dumbass podcast every 2 weeks.
That's going to be fantastic.
God.
Oh my God, why?
The most popular question.
All right. We didn't really talk and joke around very well.
Yeah, we just did. I said, why do we have to do this dumbass podcast? You did a song.
Oh, that's true.
This all just happened.
It wasn't one of my best.
Literally 1 minute ago.
It wasn't one of my best.
I enjoyed it. Anyway, peace.
All right.
Question, most popular question from Google is Rand Paul still running for president? And I don't know, I wouldn't be doing this dumbass live streaming if I weren't. So yes, I still am running for president. Get over it. Where is Rand Paul in the polls? This is not live. We can't edit this, right?
Head of editing and mastering is John Dauber.
Contact Johnny53 at gmail.com.